So Shipment has just arrived in Call of Duty Modern Warfare as part of the Season 1 content, and I thought it'd be interesting to kind of take a look back at some of the other versions because this is actually the 4th time Shipment has been in Call of Duty. So in today's video, we'll go ahead and take a look at the MWR version, the Ghost version, as well as the World War II version to kind of compare and contrast what are some of the differences and how it's changed over the years. If you're interested in skipping around, I will have timestamps in the description as well as in the comment section. So let's go ahead and start it off with MWR. So the original map description said tiny Russian shipyard, fast-paced action with no hiding. And you'll see it's a fairly tiny map. The whole point of this map was to get into a lot of engagements rather quickly. You can see as I kind of come around the map, there's always these different head glitches where you're able to pre-aim. And there's always that trade-off between running and gunning and kind of posting up on a head glitch and just taking out people as they come out. And on top of that, there's typically an issue with nade spam where people are just throwing lethals around like crazy, whether it's just a regular nade, C4, whatever the case is, it becomes a considerable issue and you just got to kind of learn to avoid where people are going to be throwing those types of lethals. So all I'm doing right now is kind of moving around the map so you kind of get an overall look and feel of how the map is. Then when we go into the next version and the following version, you're going to see how some of these things change while others remain the same. Right here, there's a lot of barrels and there's a lot of crates. That's kind of just simplified, bare bones map. And with this particular version of Call of Duty, it was pretty straightforward. You got 3 kills, you'd get a UAV. 5 kills, you'd get an airstrike, and then 7, you'd get a helicopter. So all in all, the streak spam was pretty heavy because those are pretty low tier and can generally be obtained rather quickly by most players. So with that, we'll go ahead and transition to the next Call of Duty that featured a version of Shipment, and it was actually called Showtime within Ghost. And it's probably the least memorable version of Shipment, primarily because it was a part of DLC 4, when most players are starting to already think about the next Call of Duty. So the Ghost version was called Showtime, and the description read, prepare for frantic action as the classic small map Shipment returns as a deadly game show arena. And even though initially it's going to look like this map is very similar to the other 3 maps we're going to talk about in today's video, it ends up being wildly different. Obviously we have the base where we kind of have the car you can mount behind, you have the various open crates, you kind of have the ways that you would navigate, but there's these little doors that are on the side of the map that open up after about 30 seconds in, and then you're actually able to go on the outside of the map, and there's different walkways, there's different little platforms that you can get on, and there's completely different areas for you to get into gunfights. A lot of this still looks exactly the same that we just saw in the Modern Warfare Remastered version, but as you'll see, these doors open up at a random like they just did right now, and I'm going to start walking through those areas, and those areas allow this map to play completely different than any of the versions we're going to look at today. So pretty straightforward, looks exactly like the Shipment we're used to. And then as I come around, I'm going to go ahead and walk through one of these doors, and you can see there's different stairways, there's different little paths that go up and down. There's different little ways to navigate around the map. Personally, I'm not really a big fan of these individual changes because then it kind of loses the entire purpose of the map in general, which is to get into as many gunfights as possible, as fast as possible. And I think it loses a little bit of that. Let me know, what are your guys' thoughts on this map down in the comment section? Do you like the individual changes? Did you play this originally? Did you feel like it played slower than the original Shipment? Or did you think it felt about the same? So we'll go ahead and jump into the next version of Shipment. That was Shipment 1944, available in Call of Duty World War II. And its description reads, the frenetic classic from Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare brought to life for Call of Duty World War II as a Shipment area on Normandy Beach. And I think for a lot of people, this particular map saved World War II for them just because it allowed them to grind out the challenges, allowed them for fast-paced action. A lot of people were not fans of the pace of World War II, and it turns out that Modern Warfare ended up having a little bit slower pace, but that's a whole nother story. The map pretty much was identical to the original. You can see kind of where the different crates are positioned, but instead of the metal crates, they were kind of the wooden ones. And when this map first came out, there was a lot of brokenness to it. You can shoot through the crates, you can get people set up in a spawn trap, which could have been done on the other ones, but then eventually that got all worked out. But this still ended up being one of the best maps to get high kill games on. It was easily 100+ kills a game, easy V2 rocket, just because you were able to move around, pre-aim. The spawns were relatively good and predictable. The only mode they were kind of messed up in was really free-for-all, because someone could literally spawn in behind you even if you're in the corner. So For the most part, map played fairly well, and this particular version was actually made by Sledgehammer Games, while all 3 of the others were made by Infinity Ward. So that's going to go ahead and bring us to the newest version, which is the Shipment within Modern Warfare 2019. So you can see they opened up this crate on the left. Normally that was closed, so we're able to walk through that. You still have the typical head glitches and things like that. You're able to jump up and mantle, whereas you couldn't mantle in some of the previous Call of Duties. That little V shape where you're able to stand in is no longer there. They closed up that crate. We have these 2 trash cans that we're accustomed to seeing, and now it's open across this left side, and then the walkway is there as well. So they kind of widened it out a little bit. It's not significantly bigger, and I think what they primarily did was just reoriented a lot of the crates. It's almost like they just picked up the map, turned it a little bit 90 degrees, and on top of that, they also allowed for some verticality. As you're going to see as they come around, I'm be able to jump up on the barrel, and then I'm be able to jump up on the crates, which is going to allow you to bounce around. What I am so glad that they didn't do is they didn't add any doors on the map. I thought that that would have been an unnecessary change that they've been doing on all of the other maps within the game. So the map is looking like it's going to play as fast as we're used to. I think the biggest issue with this map will probably be the spawns, just because the spawns are an issue with all of the game modes and all of the maps within the game already. So those are the 4 different versions of Shipment. Let me know down in the comments section which one do you think is the best and why. Then if you did enjoy the video anyway, please do me a favor hitting that like button. If you're brand new, like to find your way back to the channel for more Call of Duty content, definitely consider subscribing. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.